Next, you have T2 receptors in the nigrostriatal pathway. These are receptors projecting from the substantia nigra to the striatum, so dopamine producing neurons in the substantia nigra. These regulate motor movement. And normally, in schizophrenia without so-called antipsychotic treatment, this, let me move my hands properly. There you go. There you go. This pathway is actually untouched. This pathway is untouched, but with antipsychotic treatment, you block the D2 receptors in this pathway. Again, the receptors that are responsible for regulating motor movement. Then you get all sorts of motor side effects. We call these extrapyramidal symptom side effects. Basta EPS. We call them EPS. I'll just call them EPS from now on because saliva. EPS, starting with acute dystonias, weird muscle spasms, can be in multiple parts of the body, pwedeng like in the eye skin. So there's ocular crisis, eyes moving up, trocholis, torticollis, neck, cheeks, even all the way to the hands and legs. Yeah, may ganun din. Okay. So that's acute dystonia, basically muscle contractions that are kind of really weird and not within the control of the person. This might sound a lot worse than the next one, which is akathisia, but you notice it's akathisia that's in bold. This is a side effect also that service users find extremely distressing, to the point that some people developed suicidal ideations due to the side effect. It is that bad. Yes. So restless legs, it sounds pretty relatively mild compared to bizarre muscle contractions, but let me tell you, this is really bad. I have experienced this taking the so-called antipsychotic, but not for psychosis, actually, as an add-on for my depression that was only partially responding to escitalopram. So I took the so-called antipsychotic, but again, for mood issues. And I remember I was reviewing for the boards at a review center. The morning session, it was so bad. It was so bad I could not sit still. I was moving my legs, spreading, closing, just everywhere on the seat. It got so bad to the point that I stood up, I went to the back of the room, and I just took notes while standing up because it was so... It's a very uncomfortable... I wouldn't say painful. It's just not comfy at all, distressing. It's a very distinct sensation that I wouldn't call painful, but I would say it's just really, really bad. So bad that in the afternoon session, I couldn't stay. I felt bad for the lecturer because it felt like I was ditching them. But in truth, it was really bad. My legs were just so bad. Okay. And, that was for someone who wouldn't... I couldn't say that I had thoughts of suicide from that, but there are people for which it's so bad that it gets to that point. Okay. So please, this sounds less bad, but take it seriously because for service users, it's really, really bad. Okay? Now, the next EPS is Pseudoparkinsonism. This is not true Parkinsonism because if this were real Parkinson's, your dopamine producing brain cells here in what you call the substantia nigra, they would be dying. They would be self-destructing. For whatever reason, we don't know, but they would be dying. That is actual Parkinsonism. But this is pseudo because, well, your dopamine producing cells there, they're not dying. It's just that the D2 receptors there are blocked. So it's as if you have Parkinson's, you have symptoms of Parkinson's, but it's not actually Parkinson's. So the standard trap, resting tremor, think coffee. Like, I remember one time I had like really strong Tim Hortons coffee. My students saw this. Like, I showed them my hand. It was like, yeah, even though it was although on hindsight it wasn't at rest. So that kind of tremor, rhythmic tremor, that even at rest, so you get that tremor. That's distinct from the involuntary contractions with dystonia. With dystonia, there's no rhythm, but with the resting tremor, there is a rhythm. Cogwheel rigidity, like akinesia, slowing of movement, postural instability, and other symptoms actually that are core to Parkinson's that are not part of this. But anyway, That's the classic stuff. Again, not true Parkinson's. When you stop the meds, these will likely go away. Right, that's usually, or if you switch to something with less EPS, these may go away. Okay, so pseudo. They call it Tardive, apparently, not Tardive. I used to call it Tardive. Tardive dyskinesia. So, unlike with acute dystonia, akathisia, and pseudoparkinsonism, this one is a bit more chronic in terms of its onset. So, the first three, they're usually within the first few days or weeks of treatment. But Tardive dyskinesia, this one is after like a year or so of treatment, for after long-term treatment, basically. So this has some overlap with dystonia. These should actually be GIFs, but let me just demo it. The CPD did a good job of showing us naman. Like chewing, buccal, so shoulder shrugs, tongue darting, moving out, and then even all the way to the hands, piano playing movements, the feet, even the feet. So actually, when you do an assessment for tardive dyskinesia, you'd have to look at the whole body. You have to look at the whole body, not just like the face. So here it shows the face, but in an actual assessment using AIMS, for instance, you'd need to look at the whole body. These may be difficult to get rid of, even with stopping the med. That's why it's very important to keep watch for this. And as soon as you see it, you're going to start addressing it kaagad with the strategies that you would hopefully learn in ClinFar. Okay?